Which party has the best campaign songs, Winston?
Let the people decide.
Let the people decide.
I'm not going to be part of this debate.
We could run a quick poll on that, right?
Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
Let's ask which party has
that
the
would be a good
best
idea.
campaign songs. Tell us what you think. This is a very interesting context for our conversation. As a country, we are so polarized politically that any issue that calls for a certain assessment of the performance of two parties on any matrix, even campaign songs, could turn into a delicate conversation that people are not so willing to wade into. As if you say that this one songs are better than that, it means you are asking people to vote for that.
But there's a social science to that. From a marketing perspective, I mean, there's a book that I did in 2016. Is it 2017 or 16? Yeah. And I was analyzing the difference between us and the Western, elections. They are very tech heavy. We are much more symbolic heavy. So if you want to look at the contrast between the West and the African elections, it's much more of symbolism, much more of cultural, artifact. And so from a comms perspective, I mean, political communication perspective, we say that the effect of a certain media type is ranked, all right? We call it hierarchy of effect. So you want to look at 1, awareness, 2, knowledge, 3, likeness. Then you want to look at preference. You want to look at what we call conviction. And then the latter part of the effect is to purchase. All right. So when somebody does an advert, it's not necessarily for you to buy, but whether they can put the plot in your head. That is, or the opponent to trim, So the awareness level and then what we call the awareness and knowledge can be driven by songs because we're very much cultural people. So you remember when you read a history, they say when the slaves were working in the farms, they sing. It gives them mojo, it gives them endurance, etc. Now, when you put a political communication out, politics is heavy. We call it heavy. Politically heavy, thing. So policy issues could be best transferred to people who are not political through social, language like songs, riddles, and that kind of thing, because people are not ready to listen to hardcore political messages like policies, etc. So how do you then transfer to them? Get it into the songs, and it will stick.
Wow.
So that's the science behind why.
That's fascinating stuff. And of course, that's why Professor Kobe Mensah is here with us. We also have Maximus Ametogo. Maximus is a digital marketing strategist. He joins us over the phone. Maximus, what a pleasure. Good morning to you. Right, I think we're working to connect to Maximus Ametogo. Do we have Maximus? Hello?
Yeah.
There you are. Thank you for your patience. Good morning. It's great to have you on the show.
Good morning, Kojo. You left me behind.
I missed that. What did Maximus say?
So you left him behind.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Maximus. Listen, it's good to have you. This is a new, not a new phenomenon, but maybe an emerging one, right? This idea that social media influencers are being recruited by political, interests to push their message. Why has it become a more favored way of communicating with the public, Maximus?
Yeah, Kojo, thank you very much. I believe that the word social and media, categorizes us together. As I'm a social media user, it means that I have a media channel and I have an audience that I reach out to and influence. Just like the way they will come and play your advert, the political party will play adverts on your station, right? So when it comes to messaging, discussions, talking about their policies and their manifesto discussions, they can give it to a voice on social media to transmit that to various communities that they influence. So social media is not getting the kind of mileage that traditional media hitherto had. So people don't. Research shows that 20% or the 14% of consumers buy based on advertising, and 80% buy based on peer recommendation. So there's some social influence when it comes to decision making, and that's why if I have a social media channel, I become a channel just like Joy FM. So because I've gathered followers and fans in numbers, and they consume the content that I share, the politicians have also found a way that if you want to influence people, depending on the policies or topics that they want to also transmit, they can select influencers, either the celebrity or what we call micro influencers or peer influencers. So somebody who has below 10,000 fans or followers becomes a peer influencer, and the person who has above 1 million or 100,000 becomes like the celebrity influencer. So long as you can influence people's opinions and the way they think, you want to use the social media influencers to transmit your messages to people, to break that traditional way of advertising.
Well, Maximus, I'll stay with you. Product you are selling factors into what medium you use to advertise it. Now, I go to TikTok to watch a social media influencer's skits or videos when I want to laugh, or when I want to know which celebrity is dating which celebrity, or when I want to know where to go and eat lunch. Will I go to these same people when I want to decide who to vote for?
Yeah, obviously that is not the first place you go to. And you see, there's something about subtle marketing or positioning in marketing or communication. If for example, let's say Nike wants me to advertise their shoe for them, they can say, okay, I want to say, okay, I'm doing 12 days of training and jogging, so I'm going to University of Ghana campus and jog. But in my videos, you'll be seeing me lacing my Nike shoe and all that, or wearing Nike jersey, and not saying anything about it. After the 12 days, I will say, okay, this jogging was sponsored by Nike or Get Nike. I've Nike too, not you knowing, but I've done that at the end of the video. So for those who influence you in terms of skits and their lifestyle that you've connected to, politicians also have a subtle way of using them to also send them the messages to you. So they can go and take a selfie with a politician, or meet them at the mall and engage or interact with them at an event and share their pictures, and then maybe share pictures of some policies that they've implemented. And for the person they want to influence, it's a subtle way of engaging. They usually won't come and post a political advert. Do you get that? So the way you also communicate using influencers is also key when it comes to the impact that you will have. So you have to be subtle in the way you deploy influencers to transmit your political communication.
Right. Prof, let's look at it from the perspective of the political, because they are actively courting these influencers.
Absolutely.
I get on the face of it the idea that if an influencer posts something, their entire audience sees it. So in terms of eyeballs, you are getting a lot of eyeballs. But what you really want here is votes. It's not like you're selling a product. You're not selling Coca-Cola, where maybe you want people to develop, over a period of time, a certain affinity towards it. And then one day, if they go to the shop and there's Coke and Pepsi, they'll pick Coke. Or, you're trying to build some kind of emotional connection. Or it's not that. You want people to vote, to take a particular action in your favor. So when they are choosing influencers to help them achieve this goal, what factors should they put in place? What kind of influencer should a political party want to work with in order to achieve the vote of their followers?
Okay, thanks very much. Let me contextualize what Maximus was actually talking about. In communication, we have what we call avoidance. So you know that if you actually place, or if you actually typically do a political ad, the one who is not predisposed to politics, or who is not really, politics is not their thing, they will not go and seek for. So you do placement. All right. So you do placement knowing that Kojo will go for laughs when he goes to TikTok. He wants to go and laugh. All right. But then you place the political message there, exactly on the item that he's going to use to laugh. Then once you do that, you've actually done what we call environmental exposure. You get into the person's consciousness. All right. You might not proceed to go and learn about the policy, but the item had been exposed to. That's why we do placement. All right. Now, what would make a politician choose a particular influencer? So many other reasons. I get the point that yes, they are seeking for votes, but it just doesn't happen like that. You have to be exposed to the communication. At some point, you have to see a comparison between what somebody is offering and and these are the processes that our judgment come to be influenced. So when we say you want to persuade somebody, it's what we call the hierarchy of effect. All right. So the first step, the person has to know, has to be aware of. The person has to know. The person has to come and like it. So depending on the politician's strategy, where the message has gotten to, they may decide that no, this first part of the messaging, we're just looking for awareness or likeness. At the latter part of the campaign, we're looking for, let's say, action, i.e. behavioral, things. And then when it comes to the behavior, it's not only about voting, it's also about, propagating or advocating, or let's say word of mouth. All right. So I go to somebody and say, I chanced on MPP's ad. They were doing this and that, and they said this. I might not vote, but I have actually done what? Word of mouth, which is a behavioral. So you have three sequences, which we'll call attitude sequence: cognition, affective, and what we call conation. Conation is the latter part, which you're actually stressing on, that the person would vote for it. All right. And so even if I don't get a vote from the person, I've had the advocacy. All right. The person had said something to a friend as a word of mouth. Whether it's positive or negative, they have exposed your message to somebody else. And the person might say, oh, but that's not bad at all. Maybe if you hadn't actually done the word of mouth, that individual wouldn't have been exposed to the message. So you have to ask yourself that in the campaign period, in terms of your messaging, at what stage are you in? When the policies are fresh, you want awareness, you want people to know it. All right. Then of course you want to use certain media forms. So at the awareness stage, you want to use a celebrity who has a followers of about 1 million. The message will boom go out like that. Then people are going to discussions. Maybe something will be trending. Kojo Henson and his Youngson and his team would discuss what is trending. Oh, this issue is trending. Now people get to hear it, and now they're going to search for more information about it to know, and then if they like it, to like, and then to compare. So it's sequence. All right. And so at the tail end of it, you will say, okay, I now want proper vote. Okay, who can actually do that? The celebrities online are not the right persons to do that, because we have different types of celebrities. We have what we call achieved celebrities, we have what we call attributed celebrities, and then we have what we call hereditary celebrity. Now, the person who would rather make people vote is the achieved ones, because the attributed celebrities are those who, through media forms, like they've gone viral. So you can mention names, people who had actually used media to go viral to make themselves popular. The achieved ones are people who have done things in their lives, and per their record, you can talk about Kwesindum, you can talk about Dufour. Those people, or those in the media or in entertainment or in fashion, they are achieved. Now, when they do endorsement, because they've been there before, people tend to believe and follow their path. All right. The attributed ones can give you visibility, awareness. And then, of course, we have what we call the hereditary ones, the chieftaincy ones, those who are chiefs, kings, who have been political, legacies and things, and the
children of
that's right.
celebrities and
Yeah.
wealthy
So
people.
they can also get you to vote because they know what they're talking about. That's why President Kufuor will be unleashed. All right. These are some of the factors that you consider as a politician or as any person who want to drive a certain, campaign. You want to consider at what stage must you use what type of, celebrity, etc.
So you're suggesting that when it comes to the attribute ones, those who've used media to go
Yeah.
viral, many of the people we hear talking about these things, they just would create awareness but not really impact decisions.
So they will, because you see, the literature says that young people don't feel that they can impact politics. So we use these ones to drive efficacy. All right. So efficacy means that the young people feel that they can make an impact in the election, or they can persuade somebody to make an impact, and they will not listen to hardcore political issues. They will sit on social media, etc. So if I'm a strategist, I said, okay, why don't I get a micro influencer or social media influencer to split open my campaign to these young people? After that, why don't I get them to do X space, saying their discussing politics. So if this guy can discuss politics, then me too, because they are coming from a position of lack of knowledge and feel I cannot influence the political process. But if you see your likeness on social media, who is all fun, is all entertainment person, now speaking politics, you are then convinced that, oh wow, this thing is not difficult at all, I can also do it. That is the efficacy. All right. And then of course participation. So from knowledge, efficacy, and participation, then the person feels that, oh, I can also knock on doors, oh, I can also preach to somebody, or I can also speak policy. So in your strategy, it is not all about the vote, it's about the processes that lead to the vote. Can you drive the knowledge? Can you let them be empowered and feel that they can influence the process? And then can you get to the vote? Then that is the final part of it.
Okay. Wow, fascinating stuff. We're talking to Professor Kobe Mensah and Maximus Ametogo. We're talking about the impact of social media on elections. Already, I've learned a lot. Now, we're going to take a short break. When we come back, big questions on my mind. First of all, I wouldn't go to my plumber to ask his opinion on which fuel to put in my car. Would you go to your fashion influencer to ask his opinion on who you should vote for? Also, what does endorsing a party do to the reputation of the influencer? In this polarized environment where people are afraid or wary about being tagged, what does it do to an influencer's own reputation and influence when they endorse one party or one candidate over another? And should the candidates themselves seek to be influencers? I mean, I just checked, and my following on Instagram is more than that of Alan Chemantin.
Yeah, you have a celebrity.
I'm not. I'm a journalist. but
definition.
Yes. Should Alan Chemantin be seeking to grow his own?
Yeah, he's actually a celebrity
influence.
as well.
Yes. Yeah. Conversation with Professor Kobe Mensah and Maximus Ametogo. Now, Maximus, I'm coming to you with this. Let's talk about consumer behavior, if you will. These influencers, they have large followings, but if these followers are coming to them for information to help them make decisions about where to go out on a Friday night, or what fashion trends are in vogue, or which celebrity is cheating on their husbands, if they are coming to them for that kind of information, will they also come to these influencers to help them decide who to vote for?
Yeah, politics and whoever we decide as leaders cut across every industry, whether you're an organizer, a teacher, a celebrity, a musician, a media people, a pastor. So usually these influencers express their social lifestyle by the content they share. So if they're also talking politics because we are within that season and context, their followers will find it relevant to, consider whatever they are sharing or saying about politics.
Now, if indeed an influencer can help a voter decide who to vote for, is it because the followers have sort of submitted or surrendered their decision making in all aspects of their lives to the influencers, or are they selective in which aspects of their lives influencers can influence?
Yeah, Kojo, I don't think the followers of these influencers are robots or zombies. Let me put it in that way. They are also very smart. They are also informed. If they see an influencer is becoming a paid media channel to influence them to make a political decision, they can tell. So they either will unfollow you or give you a heavy backlash, in terms of comments and whatever you post. So for me, the influencer has to be authentic, right? The politicians must know which influencer can drive their communication better or can trigger their content going viral. So some of the influencers have their political affiliation already, and they have a consistent followership. So there, the followers know where these people are aligned. So they are the better option to push that. Now, if an influencer who is supposed to be apolitical, trying to oversell a political message to you, either the person is being paid to, transmit that message to you, so you can make the opposite decision. An influence can be negative or positive. So even the U.S. election, you realize that the Democrats use lots of influencers, musicians to dancers to whatever, but it didn't impact the elections for them. Trump goes on Joe Rogan's show and is getting huge followership because Joe Rogan may not go all out political. He will just, tease out whatever conversation that he wants from you, and he may give you endorsement at the end. But he's not a typical person who will be telling you every day, vote Trump, vote Trump, vote Trump. In fact, initially, he didn't even want to feature him. So, the followers are also smart. If you are overselling them a product and they think you are becoming a paid media channel, they will not take a decision based on whatever you are recommending. So how the politicians use influencers is very critical in getting the results they want at the end of the day.
That's fascinating. Now, still keeping with the consumer behavior side of the conversation, or if you, let's call it, mass psychology. I may listen to a politician himself telling me about his policies and decide whether or not I think he's worth my vote. But what effect does it have on me when I hear other people that I admire for other reasons telling me that this politician is good or this politician is bad?
Okay. What we say is that usually you're looking at either persuading or exposing the contest. All right. For example, if you go to your plumber that you do not expect to be so knowledgeable about politics, and the person tend to take you onto the political line of conversation, you marvel. So sometimes it's the novelty that you're going to get, and then question yourself whether if your plumber, who you think shouldn't be that knowledgeable on a subject matter like that, let's say exchange rate or economic issues, and then your plumber put it to you, he's put a plot in your head for you to sometimes experience what we call the dissonance. So you had actually taken a decision as a knowledgeable person, now being challenged psychologically by someone otherwise, quote unquote, not knowledgeable. You will start questioning, yourself. So the politician or the strategist is not clear cut about, I want to change, Kojo Yangson's mind to vote for me, but I want to sow doubts. I want to sow certain seed of doubt, certain dilemma, all right, in order that you would then reflect on the messages and think whether you have to give me a second chance. So when the advertiser is putting it, I always tell my student, for example, if Tiger Woods is actually selling you, or let's say when Jordan Air came first, Nike, it wasn't that Jordan, was it Jordan, right? That was the one. It wasn't that Jordan was expert in shoemaking, but you see, there's the attributes about Jordan, the way he can jump, that Nike wanted to deploy or wanted to exhibit the qualities of the shoe. So when you see Jordan Air, the assumption is that the shoe has that propensity, that quality to get you to excel in that particular manner. So sometimes it's about how do you want to deploy the message. And so when you want to deploy the message, you want to use characters that can demonstrate in person, because shoe is inanimate, right? But Jordan is a human being. Jordan can demonstrate the qualities of the shoe. So if you want to see the qualities of the shoe, see Jordan. So sometimes it's about priming, all right, the context that we want to communicate. So we say that communication effect, some of them is priming or what we call framing, all right? You frame so that you can put different perspectives into the being, and for people to realize, oh, I didn't see this coming, I didn't see these perspectives. I've been able to communicate. So I've been able to let you see perspectives that otherwise you wouldn't see. So if I use the plumber to tell you something unusual, I've given you a framing concept. I've given you a priming concept, all right? And so it's always about what is the objective here that I want to pursue, and who can actually let me pursue it or achieve it better.
All right. Now let's talk about the competition. And I think this will be the idea that we wrap up with.
That's
okay, we've got just about 2 minutes to end. So Maximus, I'm coming to you quickly, and then I'll finish with the Prof. The idea of the influence of the politician himself versus the influence of the influencers that the politician is borrowing in order to get his message out there. So let's use specific examples. Dr. Baumia on Twitter has about 950,000 followers. He gets an endorsement by Kojo Sheldon, who has about 1.6 million followers. John Mahama has 2.3 million followers, but he gets an endorsement from, say, Kafui Danku, who has nowhere near that. First of all, is it not more profitable for these politicians to grow their own following? Would that not give them better results in terms of seeking votes?
Brilliant. I think that you put it the right way. If you don't see social media as a constituency, you will lose out as a politician. So social media should be that constituency that you need to also have your presence there. Can you imagine politician not going to a particular constituency in Ghana and expect to win that constituency? It may not work out. So politicians need to build that social media or digital media audience so that they can exploit them later during election period. So it's very important to build your own influence on that channel. Then you use the others as amplifiers.
Well, thanks for that, Prof. Same question.
I think that what we have to understand is that the social media influencers, and not all of them are because they're there because they want to listen to you and do what you say. Some of them are also opposition. They want to know what you're about, what you're talking about, so that they can take a different view. All right. So you can build a fellowship, which is absolutely right, to get your fellowship so that you can actually push the message. But you need diversity. All right. That's why political parties, even in their strongholds, they have to go to the other holds in order that they can convince people to cross over. Because and know that social media is echo chamber. People are reflecting what you're saying. That is not enough. You need a diversity. You need a diverse views. You need people who will give you a counter perspective so that you can come out better. All right. So someone may have just about 10,000 followers, but they're quality followers. You know, perhaps when you reach out to them and they're able to reach out to that constituency, they can add you the +1 that you're looking for. So it's always about not only your followers, but it's also about critical constituencies, whether they can actually be an addition to what you're seeking to do. And of course, it's a political discourse, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you want to look at perspectives. So not only all those homogeneous group of people that you think, but the other group that you can also persuade, or you can change their perspectives, not even to vote for you, but to change their view about you.
Right.
You know, it's also important.
This has been a masterclass, I've got to say. Professor Kobe Mensah and Maximus Ametogo really giving us lots of perspectives to think about in terms of the role of social media in elections.